My boyfriend's wants, acts of service. Basically the title. My 26F boyfriend, 29M, is saying his love language is being provided with acts of service. We being together for 4 years and I left my country to be with him with the expectation of continuing my education. I have a master's degree but I wanted to finish my PhD. He is claiming I don't do enough for him, but I'm basically a stay-at-home girlfriend. I cook 3 times a day. He works from home, clean, take his dog out 3 times a day, clean his guinea pig cages once a week. There's 4 big cages. Take out the trash, grocery shopping, make him tea during the day and cocktails several times during the evening, night, etc. He is now claiming I don't give him enough massages, surprises and BJS. He doesn't shower every day so I don't want to put my mouth there. And his love language is to be served and received acts of servitude. I told him this very triggering for me, because my entire day revolves around him, plus I'm a black Hispanic woman and my grandfather was a black man who worked during his childhood and teenager years in a sugar plantation. He was technically a descendant from slaves so it's very awful of him to ask for acts of servitude, as if I was his personal unpaid man nanny or something. He said I was being crazy and ungrateful. He also said slaves weren't treated bad and he said the Holocaust was worse. And I don't know how to move past this or how to communicate that he is invalidating all the stuff I do around the house and demanding servitude is actually crazy and unreasonable. Info. What exactly does he do for you? It seems like all focus is on him and his domestic and personal needs. Are you sure you're a girlfriend and not a live-in maid, personal assistant? Because that's what this dynamic is screaming. Lolololololol. His love language is to receive servitude? Like what the fuck? You are being exploited, taken advantage of, manipulated, gaslighted. You're the crazy one? Nah. And treated like trash. This man is insane. And don't get me started on the Holocaust was worse. What are you getting out of this relationship? You know relationships are meant to make you feel good? This is not a communication issue. This is, my boyfriend is a flaming piece of shit who doesn't see me as a human being, issue. Leave him. Now. You are worth so much more than this and you deserve a loving relationship with someone who cares about you. Everything you mentioned you do for him already are acts of service, and the fact that he doesn't recognize that is really shitty. So basically he wants you to be his mom with added sex benefits? Run for the hills. Whoa whoa whoa. Are we going to ignore the fact that this guy told his black girlfriend that the slaves weren't even treated that bad? What the fuck? Break up with this racist poss. He thinks he owns you because he's paying the bills. Women need their own income. Don't be entirely dependent on a man, especially when you're not married. You have no financial protection. It's just not safe. Please start making a plan for yourself. Gross. All this love languages stuff is bullshit anyway. He has no empathy and his thoughts are fucked up if he thinks slavery was NBD. Please just dump him and tell him it's because he's a selfish idiot with no common sense. This guy is a massive turd. You don't need him to stink up your life. Go to your school and tell them you need help to find housing. Quietly pack up your most important things like passport, birth certificate. Then get help to move when you have a new place ready. If you feel you need to say something to him, this works great. Say, I realized I am not enough for you, so I left. Of course there might be more conversation. How much is up to you? But that one sentence is perfect toward a controlling person. They have nothing to argue against. And you can just act like, sorry I kept letting you down, so let's just end it. Meanwhile, tears of joy. Go have a nice life and enjoy working on your PhD and making new, better friends. It's not even supposed to be acts of servitude, it's acts of service. And it's supposed to be nice small gestures, not slavery. You're doing more than enough and he should learn to appreciate you, and work on his hygiene. Ew. He's a bad boyfriend. Get out while you can. He has some kind of interracial submission, slavery kink, that is kind of scary. If this is his love language, this means he has to do it, too. But I don't see anything left for him to serve you since you are already his bangmate. This dude is disgusting and I would leave him. Also, please try to look for a more equal relationship next time. This language I'm seeing in your replies. Asking permission, being required. He seems to like calling it servitude, is really alarming to me. And his assertion that slaves weren't treated bad. And you're black and he's white? And you live in Florida? I would be the least surprised person in the world if your boyfriend is non-consensually enacting a master-slave fantasy with you. Every single sign points to this conclusion. He shows no signs of being interested in an equal partnership and every sign of wanting control and servitude. The love languages thing is a flimsy cover for what he really wants, which is a slave. Please find a way to leave this man and find someone who values you as a partner. Why are you, as a woman of color, dating a man who thinks your ancestors weren't treated badly? All you need to serve him is a break-up. Acts of service is to give your time doing something reasonable, and that you don't object to for whatever reason, for your partner, spontaneous or planned. Hey babe, I got you a coffee while I was out. It's been a while since you got one for yourself. I know you were gonna weed the garden this weekend, but I already took care of it. You are 100% correct that he wants servitude. Also, he also said slaves weren't treated bad, and he said the Holocaust was worse. Is such a false equivalency. Both were terrible. He sounds terrible. At the risk of saying, just break up, because it's not always that easy. You deserve to be respected and treated as an equal. This is not normal. Wow, he really made love languages something ugly. It's a tool to feel loved and safe in a relationship, not to receive fucking BJs. Drop this douche. Why is nobody pointing out how fucked up him justifying slavery is? Acts of service love language is great, but it means that he should feel loved by those little things you already do for him. If he doesn't feel love from you making him dinner, I would suggest acts of service isn't actually his love language. If you can look up the 5 love languages. He probably thinks he is an acts of service guy so he can get all the chores done on his behalf, however that's not how it works. Sorry, he's taken on this idea and cranked it to unreasonable extremes. Crying. Ahahaha. Fuck all that. My love language is acts of service too, and it's a two-way street with that one. I love doing things for people I love, and I love things being done for me as well. He's taking very clear advantage of you. Paying for shit doesn't make him entitled to you being a servant or a sex toy on demand. Finish your PhD and dip out. Seriously. TBH, I didn't read much of this, but the fact that he says slaves weren't treated bad is enough to say fuck it and run for the hills. Acts of service as a love language is more of a giving thing than a receiving one. Acts of service is taking care of your partner. Wanting acts of service is simply desiring a slave. Lol. Your boyfriend probably read that on a red pill or PUA website. He's turning love language into an excuse to get you to do whatever he wants and make you feel bad for refusing. In other words, he's trying to manipulate you. He's a clown and an abuser in training. You need to dump him, full stop. You are already doing too much for him and he wants more. There's no end for him. Whatever you give him, he will take. So he treats you like a slave and gaslights you. Leave. Plus OMG glossing over slavery? Really? He is seriously ignorant as fuck. So in his mind, women slaves being raped isn't bad? Slave families being ripped apart and sold off, never seeing their parents or children again, isn't that bad? Or that slaves were forced to breed so the people that owned them could make money, isn't that bad? So a sex maid. There is a difference between being a homemaker and a servant. I spend full time at home, cook and clean, and my fiancé still makes time to help me and takes the time to appreciate what I do. I also appreciate what he does for me. He never expects me to do more or tells me I don't do enough. This guy is also invalidating your feelings as well as your ancestral trauma. He isn't even your husband or close to it, yet he is acting like you must perform wife duties, be a waitress, a pet keeper, a student, a maid, plus be his sex babe. I think you are honestly doing too much for him. Start doing less, pull back your energy, and finish your degree. What do you do for yourself? Give back to yourself, where you know you'll be appreciated. Did he ever ask once what your love language is? My love language is blow jobs. His love language is that. That sounds really fucking creepy. Remind him that the correct phrase is a fetish. Now, it's perfectly fine to have a fetish and to feel free to talk about one's fetish with a partner and to ask her to role play according to it. You should never feel pressured to do anything sexual that you don't want to do, however, and he needs to respect your boundaries and your decision not to cater to his kinks if you don't want to. Also, not as bad as the Holocaust? Just. What? What does that even mean? Is he saying that if something isn't quite as bad as the Holocaust it's therefore good? I don't know how one would even respond to that. My love language is also acts of service. I guess it's from the problem that my father never does something for my mom, and so I never saw this as a child. I am really surprised and overjoyed when my boyfriend does really small things. Like remembering that I could be thirsty after a train ride and then he waits for me with my favorite soda. Your boyfriend just uses you. You need to get financially independent or he always gonna be the one with more power. As others have pointed out very accurately, this guy does not see you are a girlfriend or partner. This is not a relationship, this is his attempting to place you in a position of nothing more domestic servitude. I hope you have come to realize and see this. And that you listen to the many that have advised you seriously consider seeking a way out, if he refuses to see the wrong in his treatment of you. Seek out your friends, get a circle of support and have options open. He does not truly care for or love you, and he certainly does not respect you as a partner or an equal. You deserve so much better than this. You sound like the perfect girlfriend already. You're smart, caring and you go out of your way for him. You deserve better. Tell him to change the attitude. You have made so many sacrifices for him. He can't even care for his own pets. This is a red flag. He really wants everything handed to him and babied. You deserve better. You are literally the catch. Slaves weren't treated bad. Ha ha ha, run sis. This guy is clearly off his rocker. I think you can very comfortably say that blowjobs are only going to happen if he's showered in the last couple hours. That said, you're not his sex slave and he doesn't get to demand blowjobs as proof of your love. Acts of services is how he expresses his love. If he hasn't been doing the same things back to you, then it's obviously because he doesn't love you. I think acts of service is a term from The 5 Languages of Love. It's a book about how people feel loved. If he's read or watched a review on that recently, this would explain a lot. I'd recommend asking what he means by act of service first of all, and if it's this, then I'd recommend watching a short YouTube video on it, and that will explain things much better. But by the sounds of it, acts of service isn't his love language, as if you're doing all that he would surely feel loved. If however he wants you to act as his personal servant, that's downright unreasonable. Bro, this dude straight up sounds like a poss. Love language aside, my love language is acts of service, and that bullshit isn't acts of service. That's using you. He called you crazy, ungrateful and said slavery wasn't that bad? Write down a list of things he does for you that you could possibly be grateful for, and when you give him that blank piece of paper, be done with him. Just dump him. No questions asked. Get out of there fast too. He does not sound like a healthy person to be around. It's called acts of service, not acts of servitude, and if he's intentionally using the wrong term, there's something to it. Servitude has a very different connotation than service. Also, normally when someone has a specific love language, normally that's how they display their own love. It's a huge part of that system is learning how to give love how your partner wants to receive it, and not how you want to receive it. This doesn't seem healthy. Girl, read up on the love languages. Acts of service does not mean you're someone buy $H and jump when they snap. He is gaslighting you. His take is manipulation. Please tell this man to $4 and write off and go get that PhD. Throw the love language book at him on the way out and tell him to read it again, cause he clearly misread it the first time. Acts of service doesn't mean you're a slave, which is what it sounds like he wants. Sounds like he isn't doing a single thing and you're doing everything already, which isn't enough for him. He wants you to be his sex toy, too. This is toxic. Leave, you can find someone better. Well, his view on historic atrocities is egregious enough for you to leave him. What is he doing for you? How is he expressing your love language to you? Honey, do bad by yourself. Get rid of that clown. Yet another example of why the whole love languages thing is stupid. When it's not just useless, it's because people are using it in an exploitative manner. This is what happens when a narcissist reads the 5 love languages. It sounds like you are already his maid, servant and living with a very disrespectful, unthankful child. I am surprised he is 29 already and shows no understanding at all. I would say get your foot out into the working world. Get yourself a job and move out. All those things are red flags. What do you think how a future with him would look like? A loving, respectful and equal relationship? I don't think so. There are so many better men out there that will value you, respect you, know about equality without you even have to tell them. I would honestly just cut that shit off. You have accomplished more than he has in his life and are worth so much more than that. Fuck him and his stupid entitled ass. Your boyfriend sounds toxic and abusive. And he is abusing the love languages concept to manipulate you.